Sorry, I was turning on my mic. I've got you. Yep. And I think I'm on mic 1. I got the microphone green, so I think we're good. We good to go, Gary? Good to go?
Yeah, I'll work on getting comms going. Probably won't spend the whole time here, but at least
That's fine.
jump in every now and then.
Okay, so we're live everywhere?
Yep, you're live everywhere.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Garrett. All right, folks, we just got placed underneath a severe thunderstorm watch until 9 p.m. tonight. What a watch means is that we're anticipating favorable conditions for severe weather to occur over the next several hours. We have not had any severe thunderstorms yet, but conditions will be favorable for severe storms to occur over the next several hours. So I want to make sure everybody is staying weather aware. We already have storms firing up across the region, and they're just below severe levels. So that's the thing. We've had some special weather statements for gusts 40 to 50 miles an hour, but there is going to be a potential for seeing damaging winds, potentially up to 60 miles an hour, a lot of cloudy ground lightning. And these storms are going to be slow movers, so there's going to be the potential for some flash flooding. We're likely going to see rain rates in some of these storms 2 to 3 inches per hour. So if you see a thunderstorm, just kind of sit over your one location for an hour or more. You could pick up a quick 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, just torrential rain expected in some of these. Here's a look at what the radar looks like right now. So highlighted in pink, that's the severe thunderstorm watch. That includes most of the central CSRA and most of our Carolina counties here locally along the Savannah River. So pretty much most of our counties here along that Savannah River corridor. Let's take a closer look at some of the storms we are seeing already. So we've had one pop up here just on the south side of Augusta over Fort Gordon. Special weather statement issued for that storm for gusts up to 50 miles an hour. And you can see how quickly these storms have formed. So that's the thing. With our atmosphere today, there's a lot of instability. Instability is one of those ingredients we look at for the potential of severe weather. We have high levels of it, not just at the surface, but also throughout the entire column of the atmosphere. So once storms get going, they're going to be able to just kind of reach that level of free convection and just be able to shoot up super quick. So that's what we saw with this storm right over Fort Gordon. Within an hour, we saw it go from absolutely nothing to now it's a 45,000 foot tall thunderstorm producing wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour. You can also see some very heavy rain. So those warmer colors you're seeing on the radar, that is showing really intense rain rates over 1 inch per hour. And as we mentioned, we could see rain rates over 2 inches per hour at some times. There is the potential for some of these to maybe produce some hail at times. So that's another threat we're looking at. And if you're not seeing storms, it is dangerously hot and humid again. We got feel-like temperatures well over 100 in most spots. But once these storms do hit your location, you're going to see your temperatures plummet pretty quickly. We have some more storms now bubbling up around downtown Aiken. You can see just north of downtown Aiken, we do have a special weather statement there that does include areas along I-20 in northern Aiken County and Edgefield County too until 2:15 p.m. I'll read you what this is for. This is for wind gusts of 50 to 55 miles per hour and some pea-size hail. It's not moving super quick. It's moving east at about 15 miles an hour. And these type of winds will definitely be enough to knock down some tree limbs, blow around unsecured objects, and create even some minor damage to outdoor objects as possible. So this does include the Aiken Municipal Airport, New Holland, Vaucluse, and basically on I-20 between mile markers 14 up to 37. So if you're hearing thunder, seeing rain falling anywhere around your location for the rest of today, make sure you're getting into a safe spot. These storms are going to be able to grow very quickly in a short amount of, and they're going to bring some impacts that you'll kind of be looking outside. Doesn't look like much is happening, but then you can see the potential for strong wind gusts, some lightning, heavy rain pop up within a short time frame of maybe 5-15 minutes. So that's why we're just encouraging everyone to make sure you are staying weather aware for the rest of this afternoon into the evening time. I know we have our high school football games tonight, week 1 out there. The potential is going to be there for some of these storms to linger that long and maybe impact some of those games later tonight. The reason is that we have a stalled front over the region, so that's providing our lift in our atmosphere to help kind of give the initial boost for these to form. But we also have the potential for these storms now forming across the area to push out what we often refer to as outflow boundaries. So these outflow boundaries will be able to kind of create their own mini cold fronts that can help lift and provide chances for new storms to develop. So it's going to be somewhat like a domino effect where storm bubbles up, it pushes out outflow, that's going to cause a new storm to bubble up somewhere, and then wherever those outflow boundaries just kind of collide over the next several hours, that's going to lead to kind of prolonged heavy rain, and that's where the flash flood risk does come into play. Some other spots we're looking at some storms up towards the lake. You can see now moving into Lincoln and McCormick County, just worked its way through downtown Washington and Wilkes County. That's producing heavy rain, a lot of cloudy ground lightning. So if you know anyone up at the lake, make sure they have a way to get off the water quickly and make sure they have that first alert weather app close by so they can know if this storm is getting close to their location. I'll pause this right here and let's actually take a look at some of our tower cams because these have had some pretty decent views of storms so far today. So this is the current view out of our, looks like was the current view out of our, that was the Beach Island camera. Hopefully we didn't completely lose that one. Let me pull this back up. Let's see. It is showing, oh, because, okay. The problem is I'm on Max 3. That can't pull in Web 2 for some reason. Okay, so we're not going to be able to take a look at our tower cams, unfortunately, in this segment. But you can access those on our website for free, and very easy to do that if you go to our camera network. But we do have the first alert in effect for the rest of today. We're going to keep it in effect until 10 p.m. Our severe thunderstorm watch goes until 9 p.m. Since we have storms firing up relatively early into the afternoon, if we kind of mix out and mix through our atmosphere with these thunderstorms over the next several hours, should help stabilize things and limit the severe weather threat too late into the evening. But we have some other ingredients that can kind of keep storms going even past sunset later tonight. Some of those ingredients are what we call a short wave. So an area of favorable spin in our mid levels of the atmosphere that helps generate these thunderstorms. We're kind of in a setup with some upper level troughing now over the area, and those short waves are going to be able to kind of ride through the region, most likely bring us the potential for waves of thunderstorms through the rest of this afternoon into the evening time frame. Now, one thing that has changed throughout the day today is that earlier this morning we got upgraded to a level 2 severe weather threat, highlighted in yellow. You can see on that graphic right there. And then at midday, we bumped up our flood risk to a level 2 threat. So now it's looking a little bit more likely we could have a little bit more reports in the way of severe wind and maybe the potential for some flash flooding to occur. So, hey, this is why we issue those first alerts and want to make sure everyone is staying safe, staying weather aware, and have a continued way to receive those alerts for the rest of this afternoon. Okay, is there a way to route that possibly, Gary, to, sorry, I'm talking with our operations manager behind the scenes, but Gary, can you possibly maybe route Web 2 to R32? So that way I can just pull it up full screen on this. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Nice. Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right, so here's a look at our Beach Island Tower Cam right now, and this is the strong thunderstorm that's moving through Richmond County, kind of working its way over Fort Gordon, portions of South Augusta. This storm is moving northeast at about 15 miles an hour, and this was just kind of looked like an isolated, really tall mushroom cloud when we first had our camera on it about 30 minutes ago, and now it's just kind of expanded, and now we can see some really intense rain shafts on this thunderstorm. And I'm sure we would be able to see some flashes of lightning out there if we kept it on there. But now that we have that camera pulled up, what I'm going to do next is actually try to, let's see if we can get some of these to, let's see. We're going to kind of go through some of our other cameras, and I'll show you kind of some different views. So this is up at the lake. This is where we do have a thunderstorm moving through Lincoln County into McCormick County. I'll pan our camera around, see if we can kind of get a little bit better view down the lake. So it looks like that one most likely is producing a little bit of a shelf cloud. Picturesque thunderstorm, but if you're seeing that, that's a sign that, hey, you got some heavy rain, lightning, and most likely some gusty wind starting to head your location. So if you ever see that today, just make sure you're kind of ahead of the thunderstorm, but it is trying to make its way towards your direction. So try to get to that safe spot. We'll go next to our Wheeler Road camera. Not much action there. This is a look at our downtown Augusta cam, and this is looking over the hill of Walton Way. So at the top of the hill, you can see the Partridge Inn and the Bon Air right there. And I'm going to turn this one, actually. Looks like we got a couple drops starting to fall there on the downtown cam. I'm going to switch this over to look at the medical district. And you can see that's looking at kind of the more darker skies in the background there. So this is that thunderstorm that's moving through South Augusta and trying to make its way towards the Savannah River. Here's the view outside of our studios. So you can see Riverwatch down there on the bottom, and our studios at the bottom right part of the screen. And this is looking towards that thunderstorm. I'm going to pan back up there, and you can just see it looks like dark skies. So you can just see kind of the heavy rain underneath this thunderstorm out there. And just kind of pan around, I'm seeing, what I'm noticing now is that kind of where this cursor is moving right here, you can see that these cloud tops are starting to look a little bit more healthy. They're growing. So outflow from that storm over South Augusta is pushing out. And now it's trying to help set off some new thunderstorms to develop across the area. So that's the thing. We're going to see that domino effect happen over the next several hours, and we'll likely see coverage of thunderstorms really increase over the throughout the rest of this afternoon. That could possibly linger even into this evening. I want to show you our in-house model here real quick to just kind of give you a rough estimate of what's expected. It's initialized okay. It's kind of showing some of these thunderstorms. This is just a model, folks, so take this with a grain of salt. This is not necessarily an exact forecast. This is just kind of giving us a rough idea of what we could expect. So I think it's doing a pretty good job just kind of showing these initial storms, and then we see the coverage of thunderstorm really start to increase over the next couple of hours. As these thunderstorms continue to develop, they'll push out those outflow boundaries, help set off new thunderstorms. Those will be colliding with one another and just kind of expanding that coverage of rain across the area. And then this is the potential for maybe even some of those storms to linger, maybe up until 10 o'clock. But as we mentioned earlier, if we kind of mix up our atmosphere a good bit with these initial thunderstorms this afternoon, possibly that could limit the potential for more storms as we get after sunset. But behind all this, it does... Here we go. So we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning issued for Aiken County. We'll go back out to the radar network and look at that. So this is the one that we were talking about that had a special weather statement on it. This is from mile marker 14 to 37 there on I-20. And so we'll zoom in on this and we'll kind of show you more info that's now coming in for this thunderstorm. So I'll zoom in on it. So highlighted in pink, that's the new severe thunderstorm warning out there. This is for gusts up to 60 miles per hour, possibly some hail in it. It's near Foxtown. You can see right there the Aiken Municipal Airport, and also New Holland. You're included in this severe thunderstorm warning. Goes all the way up to basically the Lexington County border. Jones Crossroads, you're also included in this. So I'll zoom it back out. Just wanted to see some of those smaller towns in Aiken County that are included in it. So with this severe thunderstorm warning, it is for 60 mile per hour wind gusts and up to quarter size hail. So that's the thing. Quarter size is enough for it to be classified as a severe thunderstorm warning if that was the sole hazard out there. But we also have, in addition to the quarter size hail, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. So with hail the size of quarters, you can start to dent cars. You can start to break glass if it hits your windows. It can cause damage. It can lead to roof damage, kind of messing up your shingles and taking off those granulars of your shingles. So there is that threat for hail there in Aiken County between mile markers 14 and 37. This is the latest info that was just relayed to us. So it is going to be in effect until 2:45 p.m. 60 mile per hour winds, quarter size hail. So if we've been talking hail damage to vehicles as expected, expect wind damage to trees and power lines. This does include the Aiken Municipal Airport, Minetta, Steedman, New Holland, Samaria Fire Station, and Cedar Pond Campground. So make sure you are getting to that safe spot if you live anywhere in that portion of Aiken County, just north of downtown Aiken, up towards the municipal airport and over to New Holland, all the way up to Minetta there in southern Saluda County. So make sure you are taking these precautions. These storms are going to be strong today, and you definitely need to treat them with some urgency. So this is our newest and latest severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued across the area. Now, we do have some other stronger thunderstorms out there, as we've been mentioning. This one in Richmond County, right over Fort Gordon. That is just below severe levels, so I would not be surprised if maybe that's the next one to go severe warned. There is certain criteria that the Weather Service looks at before they do issue a severe thunderstorm warning. They have to be expecting either 60 mile per hour wind gusts, quarter size hail, or it is rotating to where a tornado could be present. Now, for the rest of today, we're not expecting tornadoes. This is mainly going to be a damaging wind threat, the potential for damaging hail, and a low end flash flood risk too. We'll likely see some pretty intense rain with these storms that can lead to flash flooding pretty quickly, especially in flood prone areas, urban areas where all that heavy rain just kind of funnels down to those low spots, and that's where we're going to have to keep a close eye on it. What I'm noticing with this latest cell here in Richmond County is that it looks like there is a little bit better hail core right there off Highway 1. So that is on the border of Fort Gordon. I'll kind of zoom in on this. Now, this particular radar image is a minute or two old, so the storm may have moved from this exact location, but just looking at some roads here, Hilson Road around Highway 1, Barlow Road around Highway 1, Willis Foreman Road, Spring Creek Road, Birdwell Road. So if any of those sound familiar to you, or you know that's close to where you are located, you got a really strong thunderstorm nearby and it potentially could be producing some hail, and that may be our next severe thunderstorm warning issued across the area. Now, that rain is starting to move its way into Augusta, the downtown area, up towards the Savannah River. So you can see that here. It doesn't look like the returns on rain are as quite as intense right there, but what I'm going to do next is basically look at velocity. So radars are able to pick up on wind going towards and away from the radar. And let's see if we can see anything that looks too concerning velocity-wise with these. So definitely some elevated wind there off Highway 1 where we were just looking at that hail core. I'm going to loop this real quick and see if it looks like potential downburst signature. Not necessarily seeing that right there, but we'll go back up to the severe thunderstorm warning over in Aiken County and see if anything stands out for this. So looks like there definitely could be the potential for some strong wind inside that thunderstorm. And what we're looking for with the downburst signature is basically it looks like the red and green are kind of spreading apart from one another. So that's a pretty clear indication that a downburst could be happening underneath that thunderstorm. So we'll continue to monitor that. And that is the latest warning right now in northern Aiken County. We also have this thunderstorm up near the lake. This is producing, I would imagine this is most likely going to be at least a special weather statement for gusts up to 50 miles an hour. This potentially could go severe as well. So this is also going to be some fairly active weather up at the lake between Lincolnton and McCormick. A lot of cloud to ground lightning with that cell as well. So definitely some pretty active storms. And the latest scan that just came in, I would imagine that goes severe here pretty shortly. I'm going to pause this. That is quite the hail core. That is impressive right there. So that may be our next severe thunderstorm warning that does get issued right there for portions around Clarksville Lake. What I'm going to do, I'm going to actually pull up our weather service chat and see if there's any talk about maybe doing something with that storm. Okay. So one thing I am noticing, Storm Spotter is reporting some torrential rainfall in Richmond County with that storm we were looking at just a second ago. They were talking about some really intense rates between around the Deansbridge Road exit and up to about the Highway 56 exit. So that would be Mike Paget Highway between the Deansbridge Road exit and Mike Paget Highway exit off 520. Torrential rainfall, as we can see right there, and along Highway 1, that is some pretty intense weather right there too. So just want to make sure everyone is staying weather aware in those locations, and that potentially could be our next spots where we do see these severe thunderstorm warnings issued. We'll go back up to this cell near the lake, and that one definitely looks pretty healthy. I changed our imagery a little bit, but look at all the cloud to ground lightning. We'll actually see how much lightning has happened with this storm over the last 5 minutes. So within the last 5 minutes, there have been 64 lightning strikes, or excuse me, 39 lightning strikes inside this storm. That is just on the northeast side of downtown Lincolnton. And I think we just got a new special weather statement issued for one of these. We'll see if it's for this one or maybe the Richmond County one. Looks like they maybe just extend. Okay. There we go. So we just got a new special weather statement for portions of Richmond County around Hepzibah, Gracewood, Fort Gordon. This is going to be in effect until 2:45 p.m. And we'll query this, and you can just kind of see this. Also, the potential for some hail, as we were talking about. It did look like there was a little hail core on that. So that is going to be the next thing we also look at, is the potential for some hail happening in that location. So say you're in Hepzibah, Gracewood, and the worst of the storm hasn't hit your location. If you can get your car to a safe spot, whether it be the garage, underneath a carport, anywhere where it's protected from just kind of the open air, or really anywhere across the CSRA. If you have a way to get your car inside a garage, underneath the carport, kind of take those preparations now, just in case there is a storm that kind of blows up of your location and brings that potential for up to quarter-size hail later into the day. This is just our latest one right there in Richmond County. Does include places around Fort Gordon, Hepzibah, Glendale, Bushfield, Blythe, Hillcrest Memorial Park, Glen Hills, Bath, Westover, Miles Park, Elwood, Pendleton King Park, Diamond Lakes Regional Park, and Kendon Park. So it does even include areas in South Augusta, kind of inside the perimeter of 520. Looks like all the way up to about Deansbridge Road right there, and possibly even include some of the downtown Augusta area around the medical district. So up to about Wrightsboro Road is where this special weather statement is in effect. We'll zoom back out, kind of give you a wide picture, and if you're just joining us over the last couple of minutes, we'll kind of just do a brief refresh of what we're tracking. So we have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for most of our counties. That is highlighted in pink right here. We'll highlight that for you. So everywhere in white, that is a severe thunderstorm watch that will be in effect until 9 p.m. tonight. That does include Lincoln, McDuffie, Columbia, Richmond, Burke County, Barnwell, Bamberg, Aiken, Edgefield, McCormick, and Saluda County, and the rest of the Midlands all the way into the upstate and even portions of North Carolina. So this is where conditions look most favorable for severe weather to occur over the coming hours. Reason is we have some upper level troughing out there. So in the upper levels of our atmosphere, we have basically a little dip like this. And then at the surface, we have this stalled front. So throughout the entire column of the atmosphere, we have pretty decent ingredients for these thunderstorms to continue to develop. There is some wind shear, which will allow some of these storms to get organized. And that's where the severe wind potential comes into play, and also maybe some quarter-size hail out there. So that is also another threat. All right, just got a new special weather statement on the storm we were talking about up towards the lake. That does include Lincolnton, McCormick, all the way over to northern Edgefield County, right near Pleasant Lane. We'll pause this and show you kind of the area highlighted with this latest special weather statement. So this stays in effect until 3 p.m. This is for wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Biggest thing I'm seeing in the text for this special weather statement is boaters on Clarks Hill Lake, you need to seek safe harbor. Make sure you are getting to a safe spot. This is in Clarks Hill is a very big lake. It goes a long ways north-south and even stretches out a good ways east to west. So this does include places, I'll zoom in on this, and this does include anywhere north of Parksville all the way up to about the the Russell Dam. So basically where Clarks Hill meets Lake Russell, that is the area that is of the biggest concern for this thunderstorm. If you're down close to the Thurman Dam or maybe on the western branches of Clarks Hill Lake, you are not included in this special weather statement, but you will have the potential for storms to impact you over the next hour or so. You can see we have a new cell that just bubbled up just north of Thompson. That is getting close to Mistletoe State Park right there, also near Holiday Park in southern Wilkes County and southern Lincoln County, and this is going to continue moving northeast towards those western branches of the lake. So that is going to continue that direction. And then for this latest special weather statement we were just talking about, it is moving at 20 miles an hour, so it has a little bit more of a pace than what we've seen in some of these other thunderstorms, but it's going to continue moving northeast towards that 221 corridor in McCormick County near Plum Branch, McCormick, Mount Carmel. Looks like you're just on the northern end of this cell that is at its worst, but 50 mile per hour gusts, a lot of cloudy ground lightning, and definitely some intense rainfall. Some other places around the lake that this special weather statement includes is Plum Branch Yacht Club, Hickory Knob State Park, Bordeaux, Baker Creek State Park, Whitetown, Hall Creek Campground, Long Cane Creek Picnic Area, Willington, Lincolnton, McCormick, as we said, the McCormick County Airport, and the Elijah Clark State Park as well. So kind of those northern areas of Clarks Hill Lake, that's where we are looking at this latest special weather statement that will be in effect until 3 p.m. I'm going to widen out this view, and looks like we got a new severe thunderstorm warning just outside of Macon too, but watch this loop. So this is going to loop and show you the last hour. And notice how over the last hour, we've really seen coverage of storms start to increase, and that's the general development we're expecting to continue over the next several hours. So we'll continue to see this coverage of storm activity really ramp up over the next couple of hours. And when these storms kind of pulse up, they can pulse up quickly. They can go from 0 to 100 real quick. So that's why we're just encouraging everyone, make sure you are staying weather aware, paying attention to what's happening outside, because there may not necessarily be a ton of lead time between when conditions get really bad for your location and when the warning gets out. So this is your early alert for that, to just make sure you are aware that storms will be bubbling up quickly. And we even saw some new storms just kind of back build, pop up over downtown Washington. So you can see they initially got clipped by this storm, now moving over Clarks Hill Lake, pushing out the outflow as we've been talking about. It kind of spreads out in a circle, and it can lead to what we call back building thunderstorms, to where basically new storms try to develop on the backside of that thunderstorm activity. And this is where the potential also comes into play for flash flooding concerns. You just kind of have continuous heavy rain forming over the same spot, and that can lead to flash flooding occurring relatively quickly. So downtown Washington, you're getting nailed again by some heavy rain, and most likely some intense rain over an inch per hour out there. Now, I will say many of our western counties technically not included in the severe thunderstorm watch, but that does not mean that you should let your guard down and not expect any storms the rest of today. It just looks like the counties that are underneath the severe thunderstorm watch are most likely to see severe weather happen for the rest of this afternoon. But as we see down there in Macon, they got a severe thunderstorm warning going on with the storm that bubbled up really quick for them. They're technically not included in the severe thunderstorm watch, but they are included in the severe weather threat today. So I'll kind of go back to this graphic that we've been showing over the last several days, the severe weather risk and also the flash flood risk. Highlighted yellow, that's where the highest chance is. That's the level 2 slight risk. Highlighted in green, that's the marginal level 1 risk. So any type of risk, need to make sure you're staying weather aware and being prepared for the threats we've been talking about here on this live stream. But the level 2 risk does include a lot of the CSRA for not only severe weather, but also the potential for flash flooding. So we did get the update earlier this morning of the severe risk increasing to a level 2 for many of our counties. And then around midday today, we got the update that a lot of our counties got upgraded to that level 2 flash flood risk. So as we've been mentioning, the main concern with storms is strong wind gusts underneath these thunderstorms and ahead of them, and also maybe some hail that does reach up to the size of quarters. And the thing is, since these storms are just producing torrential rain underneath them, they're not moving super quick. We'll have colliding outflow boundaries, back building thunderstorms. We could see some flash flooding definitely occur in some spots. Okay, so it looks like we got a comment about some hail. Okay. All right, Snipes Pond Road. Let's see if we can. Okay, so where I'm guessing it's most likely. So we just got a comment that there is some hail in Aiken County off Snipes Pond Road. I would imagine it's right here where we have our severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for places like the Aiken Municipal Airport to Foxtown, New Holland. And I would imagine Snipes Pond Road is most likely in that warning polygon. So the thing is, for this severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect in northern Aiken County, the potential is there for up to quarter-size hail as well as 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We're getting verification now from a viewer comment that they are seeing hail in that location. I'm going to pull up Snipes Pond Road real quick and see if I can find it so we can zoom in on it. Gotcha. Okay, I got it. Yep. Okay, so that is right in the warned polygon, and most likely, here, we'll see if I can, it'll let me zoom in here. Let's see if we can find it. So Snipes Pond Road looks to be right there. So there is Snipes Pond Road, right in that warning polygon. And what I'm going to do now, we can actually switch over to see if we have See if this will give us an estimate of hail size. Sometimes it takes it a little second to load here, so there you go. Definitely did have some hail right there. We'll kind of back this up. This is over the last 30 minutes. So we'll back this up. Looks like it really peaked right there. So that's off Wire Road. Looks like we had a pretty decent hail signature. We can query this and see what it estimated. Up to inch plus potentially, maybe close to 1.5 inch size hail with that hail core underneath that storm right there. And Snipes Pond Road is not too far away from Wire Road, so I'm going to see if we can pull that back up. I believe this is Snipes Pond Road right here. So there's Snipes Pond Road. We'll kind of play this forward in time, and definitely looks like y'all did see some hail right there. Maybe it wasn't quite as large as what it was over Wire Road at times, but that's still most likely at least P to maybe nickel size hail. So over 1/2 inch, kind of close to penny size hail over the size of peas. So yeah, thank you. Thank y'all for sending in those reports. Definitely helps verify what we're seeing on radar right there. And actually looking at the traffic map on Google Maps, I see a slowdown right on I-20 between those mile markers where that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect. I wonder if some hail possibly did impact some travel there on I-20. We'll back this up. And oh yeah, definitely so. So there potentially could have been some very large hail falling there on I-20. Okay, so possibly up to quarter-size hail there on I-20 in northern Aiken County, where we were just looking at that potential. So we actually just got a new severe thunderstorm warning up towards the lake. So this is the storm that we were previously looking at. We're going to go back here, and we'll zoom in on this one. So it looks like it, man, it really kind of jumped right over McCormick. Notice how this hour loop kind of shows it was really intense over Lincolnton, and then it kind of jumped right over McCormick. So this is now a new severe thunderstorm warning that does include McCormick, Edgefield, and Newberry County. I would imagine that's Newberry County right there, or Greenwood County, excuse me. But up to a quarter-size hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. This does include places like downtown McCormick and Pleasant Lane in northern Edgefield County. This is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and up to quarter-size hail right there. So want to make sure everyone is staying alert and weather aware. We'll kind of go back to this warning, see if I can pull it up. All right, we'll clear this and go back to here. All right, so 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, hail, a threat. It is moving east at 10 miles an hour, and this will be in effect until 3:15 p.m. Locations include McCormick, Pleasant Lane, McCormick County Airport. And if you live anywhere between McCormick and Pleasant Lane, this is right off 378, so also including places like Liberty Hill. You are right in the smack dab of where that storm is traveling. So if you live anywhere on 378 between McCormick and Pleasant Lane, make sure you're getting that car to a safe spot. Make sure you're staying in your safe location as the storm is passing by your location. Definitely could see tree limbs come down, possibly some trees, power lines. With these gusts up to 60 miles per hour, we definitely can see damage to those. All right, just got a new report of power out in Hephzibah. There in southern Richmond County. That storm was had a special weather statement on it. Hasn't quite reached severe levels just yet, but likely still producing 50 to 55 miles per hour winds, so definitely enough to cause the potential for some power outages. What I'm going to do here, let's go ahead and pull up a power outage map that we can look at. Kind of scans. Here, y'all can kind of scan with me. I'm going to look at some of our tower cams across the area. So this is a look outside of our studios. This is looking towards that storm over Richmond County. That does have a special weather statement. And then we'll jump up to our lake camera. Oh yeah, look at that. So definitely can see a shelf ahead of that thunderstorm that is now severe warned for McCormick and Edgefield County. This is kind of the leading edge of it. This is looking back into Lincoln County. As we were talking about, there's a new cell kind of on the southeast side of that severe warned cell that is moving towards the dam. So any boaters out on Clarks Hill, try to get to a safe spot quickly. Even if storms may not necessarily be close to your exact location right now, they are going to be traveling towards the lake over the next hour or so. And even noticing that there's some new storms trying to develop right here where I'm kind of jiggling around the cursor. So very volatile atmosphere out there this afternoon. Storms are going to be able to blow up quick, and we're just going to have very conducive ingredients to see these storms fire up. So let's look at some power outages. I'm going to pull up the Georgia Power outage map, and y'all can kind of follow along with me on what we're seeing with that. Okay. I wonder if they're covered by Jefferson Electric. Georgia, this is strictly the Georgia Power outage map. It does show about 5 customers without power there around South Augusta. Near Martinez, it shows about 10 customers affected there. And we'll kind of zoom back out. I think Waynesboro possibly has some people out. Less than 5 right there. Go up towards, so Lincolnton. Looks like y'all definitely have a number of outages. So 320 people with, or at least 320 customers there in Lincoln County without power at the moment. Also in, looks to be in Tignal and Wilkes County, about 6 customers without power there. And interesting. So it may just be taken, we're getting reports that Georgia Power customers in Hephzibah are without power at the moment. We're waiting to see if maybe that can populate on our power outage map here from Georgia Power to kind of see a little bit better. But right now it looks like a lot of the people without power in Lincoln County at the moment where that strong thunderstorm just passed them by. We'll go back out to our radar here. Oh, and what actually just got issued as well as a new flood advisory was just issued for Richmond County, including places around Gracewood and Hephzibah. That's going to be in effect until 5:30 p.m. So minor flooding and low-lying poor drainage areas is expected. We got water over roadways. So we've already likely seen an inch or so of rain in some spots, and or actually up to 2.5 inches of rain has already fallen there in southern Richmond County around Hephzibah, Gracewood, over Fort Gordon, and an additional inch is most likely expected. So this does include places like Fort Gordon, Hephzibah, South Augusta, even around the Augusta Mall, Daniel Field, Glendale, Somerville, Bushfield, Midtown, Blythe, Diamond Lakes Regional Park, Glen Hills, Miles Park, Hillcrest Memorial Park, Kendon Park, and Minnick Park. And does include areas around 520 from basically mile marker 2 to 15. So basically from the Fort Gordon exit all the way over to the Mike Padgett exit for Bushfield. Is this new flood advisory in effect until 5:30 p.m. And what we can do is, let me find my cursor. Where's my cursor? Where's my cursor? There it is. All right. Let's look at some rain totals. We can estimate to see how much rain we've seen in these areas. So this usually does take a little time for this data to load. There we go. So right off Highway 1, that appears to be the bullseye. Kind of near Pine Tucky, off Pine Tucker Road. Got the gun club out there. As we just mentioned, most likely around 2.5 inches of rain has already fallen, and an additional inch is possible. So that's the thing with these storms, why we were talking about the flood risk, is that these storms will be capable of just torrential rain in a short amount of time, even up to about the Peach Orchard exit. We've likely already seen most likely close to an inch of rainfall there, 1.5 inches. So this is another part of the area that is included in that new flood advisory. So I want to make sure that you are staying weather aware for that threat. See if I can pull up. Let's see if I can add in flood. So you can see how that lines up really well with where the flood advisory is. So taking off the flood advisory, this is where we've seen intense rainfall. We'll overlay the flood advisory again. You can see it just kind of lines up to where we've seen just that torrential rainfall with this thunderstorm in southern Richmond County. So that will be in effect until 5:30 this afternoon. So we still have 3 hours left on that flood advisory. So it is going to be in effect for a good while. And the reason is these storms just aren't moving that quickly. So they're going to be capable of just kind of continuing that heavy rain threat. Now, as far as the current severe thunderstorm warnings that we still have the one in northern Aiken County and the one up towards McCormick in northern Edgefield County. And what I'm noticing on radar is these outflows. So I'm going to use my cursor right here. Notice these kind of arcing light blue lines. So this is that rain-cooled air that pushes out in a circle outward from where these thunderstorms are occurring. It's basically cooler, denser air that's helping lift up the warm, humid air around its ambient environment. So what this does is it basically acts like a mini cold front and sets off new thunderstorms, or it can help boost existing thunderstorms. So as I loop this, notice how we're starting to notice these potentially kind of get close to where this severe thunderstorm warning is. So I would not be surprised if these outflow boundaries really give this McCormick County storm into Edgefield County a big boost. It potentially could make it a little bit stronger, a little bit taller, and just increase that potential for strong wind to mix down to the surface, or even potentially lead to some larger hail too. So Edgefield, you're kind of right in between these warnings. Downtown Edgefield, you're right in between these warnings. You'll most likely feel these gust fronts or outflow boundaries pass by your location. What you'll basically notice is that once the outflow boundary passes by, you'll kind of feel that temperature drop, and you'll feel the wind shift. That's the outflow boundary. So I'm sure we've all noticed this at some point in our lives, to where we kind of see thunderstorms around the area, then all of a sudden we just see the temperature drop. That's a sign that an outflow boundary just kind of passed by your location right there. So, and this is just kind of the song and dance we're going to see play out over the next several hours, these outflow boundaries. And there you go. Look how quickly that new cell just popped up right north of Edgefield. It went from nothing to a pretty hefty cell producing at least moderate rainfall, and that's likely just going to continue growing out there. This is actually really incredible to watch from visible satellite imagery. I'm going to switch over to that, and you can see kind of how quickly these storms can kind of bubble up. So this is looking at cloud cover from visible satellite, and this is a look over the last 3 hours. Just notice how as it kind of loops, we just see these thunderstorms grow, expand, the coverage increases, and this is what we're going to continue to see happen. Now, this is overlaid with the radar on top. I'm going to take the radar off for just a second so we can see a little bit better with just kind of what these storms are doing. But you can see how quickly that one cell formed there just north of Edgefield. So sunshine, then all of a sudden we got heavy rain just north of you. Same thing with this cell. It blew up over Washington, continued into Lincoln, and then you see this thunderstorm kind of intensify, and now we got outflow pushing out from these severe thunderstorm warnings. Notice how fast this severe thunderstorm warning in Aiken County happened. So this is what makes it so difficult sometimes to kind of get the warning out in and give you a long lead time before the threat actually develops, because you can go from sunshine to a severe thunderstorm warning in just about 5 to 10 minutes. So really incredible to actually see that on visible satellite. Looks like we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning now. Includes the cell we're looking at kind of on the southeast side of the one in McCormick County. So this does include McDuffie County, Columbia County, southern Lincoln County, portions of McCormick County, and Edgefield County. So this is areas all up and down kind of that west to east branch of Clarks Hill Lake. So Pollard's Corner also included in this, and we'll kind of stop the radar, and I'll read a little bit more kind of on this newest warning. So this does include Evans as well. Evans, you're included in this severe thunderstorm warning that just got issued. So let's see a little bit more information on it. Looks like we got 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, up to nickel-size hail. It is going to be in effect until 3:30 p.m. So make sure anywhere inside this polygon, if you know you kind of live in southern Lincoln County, northern Columbia County, or southern McCormick County, or western Edgefield County, make sure you're getting into that safe spot and staying there until this storm does pass. It is moving east at 20 miles an hour, and expect damage to trees, power lines. With these strong wind gusts we're expecting, and these storms definitely can lead to more power outages, and we've already seen many customers without power in places like southern Richmond County and also up towards the lake in Lincoln County. So some places that this new warning does include: Evans, Martinez, Appling, Clarks Hill Recreation Area, the Thurman Dam, Riverwood, Mistletoe State Park, Hamilton Branch State Park, Parksville, Winfield, Modoc, Scotts Landing, White Oak Campground, Knox Scout Reservation, Double Branches, the Columbia County Jail, Wildwood Park, Modoc Boat Ramp, Ansley Mill, and Eubank Blanchard Community Center. Includes Interstate 20 between mile markers 173 and 179, so even a portion of I-20 included in that warning as well. Okay, give me a second, folks. I'm just going to kind of catch up on a couple things. I think what we can go back to for sure is I want to take a look at our Thurman Dam cam at that severe thunderstorm. Okay, so this is our Thurman Dam cam, and that's looking towards McCormick County. And this is looking towards that severe warn storm, now moving through Columbia and Lincoln County. So I'm going to just leave it right there for a second, and I got to make sure I am updating a couple things. All right, finally got the Facebook comment section up, so I'm going to try to follow along with some comments. It's like power is flickering in Augusta. Seeing that one. We do have a strong thunderstorm kind of around Augusta, the flood advisory too. So there is going to be the potential for power outages with these thunderstorms. They are producing strong wind at times. The potential is there for maybe even some large hail, for some car and roof damage. So make sure you are aware of those threats and protecting your property the best you can. So looking at this view from our, look at that, just got a really good lightning strike from that view there in right over the Thurman Dam. So I'm going to zoom into this part real quick. So with these type days, we can have this rain cold air push out ahead of these thunderstorms, and it can lead to these cloud features that look really scary. We can actually have what's referred to as scud cloud cover, which can look like tornadoes at times, but the thing is they usually don't rotate. And they look very ominous, very scary. And I would say this is a shelf cloud starting to form ahead of that severe thunderstorm warning we were just talking about in Columbia, Lincoln County. It is moving towards our direction here at the Thurman Dam. So I'd imagine this is a shelf cloud that's kind of in its early stages and really starting to develop kind of on the leading edge of it. And basically what's happening is that we have that rain cooled air pushing out ahead of the thunderstorm. And what that's doing is basically cold air is dense air, so it wants to hang close to the surface, and the warm humid air ahead of it is less dense. So that outflow boundary is basically lifting up the warm humid air into the storm, and as that warm humid air rises, it cools and it condenses into the shelf cloud that we can see right there from our Thurman Dam cam. So we'll likely see some pretty impressive shelf clouds with mini storms out there. We had a decent one right over the lake just about 20-30 minutes ago with the severe thunderstorm warning. Oh man, that may have been just out of view for y'all, but had another really impressive lightning strike right there with this cell. So it's tough to leave this view. This is kind of the real-time look at that severe thunderstorm warning. But I do want to go back to, we're going to jump back to just kind of what radar looks like for this storm. And this is a severe thunderstorm warning that is heading towards Appling, Pollard's Corner, impacting areas kind of north of Appling in northern Columbia County. And this is moving east at about 20 miles per hour. So anywhere in that location, kind of around the southern portion of Clarks Hill Lake, want to make sure everyone is staying inside, staying away from windows. We always say stay away from windows in these scenarios because if there is any flying debris, anything like that, your windows are going to be most vulnerable for that debris to penetrate through, and you don't want that to be nearby that when it is happening. So this is looking at an hour loop of this severe warned storm, and we got outflow also. Looking at the radar, notice how outflow right there. So that's likely help juice up this thunderstorm and turn it severe. We have more of these outflow boundaries, and you can see that one cell north of Edgefield that we were looking at just a couple minutes ago, and look how much it has grown. So as that outflow boundary kind of reached that one part of the atmosphere that really hasn't been touched by much rain today, it was able to just completely lift up this storm all the way. I would guess that cell is probably already over 30,000 feet at the moment. So that's right north of downtown Edgefield. Even looks like it has a little hail core on it. I would imagine a special weather statement at the very least gets issued for that cell coming up shortly. Okay, we're working on pulling up an SCDOT camera to see a really intense downpour. And so, okay, so this is on I-20. Are you looking at the one near the state line, Gary? Wow, look at this. All right. So this is an SCDOT camera at mile marker 19.5. This is where we did have a severe thunderstorm warning, or still have a severe thunderstorm warning that should be allowed to expire here. I was just catching up on kind of the National Weather Service chat. And so the National Weather Service is who issues these warnings, special weather statements. And they were discussing that most likely they are going to allow that warning in Aiken County to expire. But you can see just torrential rainfall. And when I was looking at the traffic map there on Google Maps earlier, when we had the severe warn cell over between mile marker 14 up to 37, there was a hail core that moved right over I-20 that I believe most likely did slow down traffic. And hopefully we didn't have any accidents or people hurt or cars that were damaged from that hail. But that's going to be the unfortunate part about these storms today, is that they will be capable of producing up to quarter-size hail. And that is enough to cause damage to roofs and also to people's cars too. So if you can stay off the roads, that's going to be ideal. I know it's kind of hitting a time of afternoon where, hey, it's Friday. This is usually a day where a lot of people get off work early. We're going to try to have some high school football games later on this evening. But just want to make sure everyone is weather aware out there. We have pretty decent coverage of thunderstorms now, and it's just going to kind of continue to increase. And actually, Gary, looking at the radar network, I mean, we were supposed to head out to Strom Thurmond today, but looks like they are getting nailed by a pretty decent thunderstorm out there at the moment. Now, hopefully, even that camera is kind of shaking around a little bit. Just keep an eye on that. So, wow. So this is a SCDOT camera. And that's the thing, folks. If you're absolutely going to have to be on the roadways and say you get caught in a really intense thunderstorms, try to stay away from those semis, 18-wheelers. Those big loads they carry, that can act like a sail and can really catch that wind and shift those big trucks around whenever that wind does pick up. So just try to avoid them at all costs. Give them plenty of room. They're going to be having to drive through some pretty treacherous conditions, and I have seen it before to where strong winds from severe thunderstorm warnings kind of tip over these semis, just because those big cargo containers that they have on the back side of them can just catch that wind perfectly, especially if it hits it perpendicular to it, and can lead to them tipping over, at the very least just kind of shifting around their loads on the roadway. So make sure you're giving our truckers plenty of room and space on the roadways for the rest of today. And that is just torrential rainfall coming down. And Gary, is it easy for you to possibly pull up some other of these DOT cameras? I think we have some closer towards the state line, but we're not really going to be able to see all too much. The storms aren't really there, but okay, so this is right around mile marker 3. That's kind of looking towards exit 5. We haven't seen any storms hit this location yet, but just wanted to see if traffic was moving okay. Looked like we had a little bit of a slowdown there, but I think we'll probably go back to radar, just kind of give everyone an update of kind of what we're seeing at the moment. So right now we still have our severe thunderstorm warning up towards McCormick and also up towards the lake. We've been talking about the outflow boundaries. They did allow that one severe thunderstorm warning at Aiken County to expire. It looks like the latest scans of that did show it dropped below severe levels. And that happens a lot of times this time of year with kind of our summer atmosphere, with the lack of a ton of wind shear. A lot of times these intense thunderstorms can pulse up really quickly, but then with the lack of wind shear, there's not really a way to tilt that updraft into the storm to keep it safe from the intense rain underneath the storm. So what can happen is all the heavy rain underneath the thunderstorms kind of cut off the fuel source of that updraft for the storms to really sustain themselves for a long period of time. So these storms will turn severe, stay severe for maybe 15, 30 minutes, and then they'll kind of rain themselves out, but then it'll be pushing out that outflow that can set off a new severe thunderstorm warning really quickly. And what I'm noticing here on the radar as well is that we have more of just kind of this back building action on the backside of this thunderstorm. So in Thompson, right around the Thompson exit at 176, it's mainly kind of on the northern side of the interstate there in Thompson and northern McDuffie County into northern Columbia County towards the lake is where it's at its worst. And kind of south of the interstate, you don't necessarily see a ton, but now we're starting to see some new stuff bubble up, likely from, hey, we got outflow pushing out from this storm in Richmond County. We got outflow from this storm pushing out. So it's likely leading to this new development that's happening near Deering all the way over to Harlem. But I'm going to go back out to this severe thunderstorm warning that does include Appling. Appling, you're getting hammered right now. That is probably the worst of the storm right there over 221 through Appling all the way to Pollard's Corner and right over the dam. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to switch over to, oh no, let's see if we, hope we didn't lose our Thurman Dam cam. I was going to, looks like we did lose it, I guess. Let's see. It's on Web 2. Oh man, I bet we lost it. Usually whenever a storm pops up that direction, we lose it. So Oh, it came back. All right, we're back online. We're back online. All right, so this is a look at our Thurman Dam cam, and just torrential rainfall right now out of the dam. You can't even see much past that. This is looking towards where the severe thunderstorm warning, and now that shelf cloud has basically right on top of us. But this new cell just kind of popped up just north of the dam, and you can't even see across the lake to basically where Clarks Hill Park is, Scotts Ferry. Usually we could see very easily from this Thurman Dam view, but can't even really see it that well. And notice the wind here on our flags. So definitely notice that outflow kind of pushing out ahead of that storm, and that wind is definitely ripping across. Seeing if we see any white caps on the lake. Don't see too many white caps. Definitely choppy out there, but sorry if I'm giving you motion sickness. I'm just kind of wanting to scan the skies and see what we're seeing out there. But we'll go back out to radar. Okay. So it looks like we got some traffic signals down off Highway 56. And wow, look at this. So notice how intense that rain was over southern Richmond County, and then the latest couple of scans kind of fizzled out. So that process we were talking about, how quickly these storms can form, but they don't really have a way to sustain themselves that long, so they usually rain themselves out. But then kind of what happens around those storms is that it helps initiate new storms to develop as we get as they just kind of push out that outflow. I'm going to go back up here though, so I'm going to zoom in kind of right where, so this is right where our Thurman Dam cam is, right where 221 goes from Lincoln County into McCormick County, so right over the dam, and you can see that heavy rain threat right there. And this has a few different radars layered on top of it. I'm going to turn some off and see if we get a little bit clearer view. So I'm just going to leave on the Columbia one. So there's the Columbia radar, and we saw that from our camera. So just kind of looking north from the dam, this is where we were just seeing that torrential downpour right there. But this is the severe part of the storm that's kind of moving in from the west. Oh, there we go. All right. Not sure why that was saying visible satellite. All right. So 221 all the way from Appling into McCormick County is where we're seeing the worst of this severe thunderstorm warning. Evans, you are still ahead of it. So the really intense rain, and I'm going to go back out to our camera view right here. You can see the wind has definitely picked up a good bit more. Now we got some white cap in action going, and let's see if we can kind of pan around that camera view. I would imagine we probably lose this camera in a little bit. Man, that wind is rocking and rolling right there. Oh, there went a good lightning pop too. I want to see if it can pan it maybe to get those flags. Look at the flag right there. All right, so this is where we have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for northern Columbia County all the way into southern Lincoln County, southern McCormick County, basically areas around the southern portions of Clarks Hill Lake, and that is a live view from our Thurman Dam cam. And you can see that wind is rocking and rolling, folks. So this is a severe warning storm for up to 60-mile-per-hour winds and possibly even some large hail embedded in it, and just torrential rainfall and a lot of cloud and ground lightning. We've seen a lot of lightning with this cell already from this camera view, and we can see it popping on radar at the moment as well. So, man, that is a first-hand look of verifying. That's why the severe thunderstorm warning is in effect right now. That is just relentless wind. I'm going to see if I can move our camera down a little bit, see if we can just kind of see the lake. Man, it's been a little while since I've seen wind like that from our Thurman Dam cam. We've had a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings out there, but you can't even see West Dam Park right there. So usually very easy to see West Dam Park right there on the northern Columbia County side, but it's just completely engulfed in that heavy rain and really intense wind at the moment. I'm going to turn our camera back towards McCormick And you can't even really see the visitor center just down the dam. Wow. That is an intense thunderstorm right there. I'm going to see if I see any hail kind of bouncing around here on kind of the platform where our camera is located. I don't see too much hail, but the wind is really the big threat with this. And so let this be a testament to kind of any severe thunderstorm popping up for the rest of this afternoon to the evening time. It's going to be producing some strong wind, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And this is what we've been talking about over the last several days is going to be the main concern with these storms today, is that they're going to be capable of producing just those really strong, damaging winds that could be up to 60 miles an hour plus. Okay. We'll come back to that, but I want to also look at the outage map, see if we have any new power outages. It does look like we do. This is the Georgia power outage map right now, and for some reason my cursor got a little crazy. So we do have, looks like 229 people without power around Augusta. Let's kind of move this. I want y'all to be able to kind of see what I'm talking about without eliminating too much of the screen. We also have 590 people without power in Lincoln County, or at least around downtown Lincolnton. And then in northern Columbia County, we have 8. I would imagine that number jumps up. It took a little while for this power outage map to kind of register the power outages we were getting in the comment section for around Hephzibah. But these are the latest outages. So we have one over Fort Gordon as well. So if you live on Fort Gordon, wondering why you don't have power, looks like we got about 30 customers without power there. Same thing off of Gordon Highway, about 30 customers. And right around Meadowbrook, less than 5. Pine Tucky, less than 5. Near Diamond Lakes Park, less than 5. But you kind of factor in all these smaller power outages. We have roughly a little bit over 200 people without power here around Augusta. But where the most power outages are at the moment is definitely in Lincoln County. 590 Georgia Power customers without power in Lincoln County at the moment. And it's from this really intense thunderstorm that we've been looking at here on our Thurman Dam cam here over the last 30 minutes or so. Man, just whiteout conditions. Can't even see the lake or really anything around it. It's just underneath just that torrential rain. And so this is where we do have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect at the moment. And Gary, it looks like it's not following the red box. You know what I mean? And we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning. Let's see where this is for. So this is for Edgefield, Saluda, and Aiken County. I'm actually going to switch back over to radar real quick, Gear. And then yeah. Yep. All right, here we go. New severe thunderstorm warning. Actually, this is in pretty much the exact spot that the first severe thunderstorm warning went out for just about an hour ago. So this includes very similar spots that just got hit by really strong wind and up to quarter-size hail, kind of between mile markers 14 and 37 there in northern Aiken County off I-20. Definitely a decent hail core right here that I'm seeing right near Eureka, just north of Vaucluse. So we'll widen this out and just kind of show you the query box for it, and we'll kind of read some more text on what we're expecting with this thunderstorm. So quarter-size hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. This storm is trying to move north at 10 miles an hour. But the thing is that these storms are just kind of reacting to colliding outflow boundaries, and there's not necessarily a huge rhyme or reason to their motion at the moment. So really anywhere inside this polygon, if you're anywhere from, say, southern Saluda County near Ward, all the way through Peach Country in Edgefield County, from Trenton to Johnston, all the way into Aiken County where Eureka is, over towards New Holland. That's where this new severe thunderstorm warning is in effect. Hail damage to vehicles is expected, and expect wind damage to trees and power lines too. So this includes Johnston, Ridge Spring, the Aiken Municipal Airport, the Edgefield County Airport, Minetta, Trenton, Ward, Harmony, and Vaucluse. For that stretch of I-20, it does include anywhere between mile markers 12 and 32. And Gary, I believe that would include that camera from South Carolina DOT we were looking at. So if we want to pull that up again, that may be a pretty good view of that severe thunderstorm warning that just went out. Yep. So this is mile marker 19.5 on I-20 in Aiken County. And this is a live look at where we do have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. So this just got put out. It will be in effect until 3:45 p.m. So we have about 40 minutes left on this warning. From that view you're looking at, it doesn't necessarily look real bad, but the thing is, right there at mile marker 19.5 is not necessarily where the strongest part of this storm is at the moment. So I'm sure if we just kind of kept our eye on this, we would see kind of conditions deteriorate across that area over the next 30 minutes or so. But we'll keep an eye on that camera for the time being. I'm gonna go back out to our radar network and kind of just show you. Oh, and of course, as soon as we shifted, it looked like a big gust of wind. I'll kind of go back to it. Looks like a big gust of wind just kind of passed over the interstate. But one thing I'll mention, since we have this traffic camera pulled up, if you absolutely have to be driving in the storms today, or honestly any day, say you're just a day in the future that you have to drive through heavy rain, what you'll always encounter is people turning on their hazard lights whenever the rain gets really heavy. I want to really discourage you from doing that. Putting on your hazards, believe it or not, actually makes you less visible to the cars around you. Is it easier to see a constant light or a strobing light? It's much easier to see a constant light than a strobing light. And when you put on your hazards where it's just strobing on and off, on and off, on and off, it makes it very difficult to gauge your distance between you and the car in front of you, and it makes it almost impossible to distinguish when you're putting on your brakes. So I really want to discourage people from turning on your hazard lights when heavy rain happens. I know it may seem counterintuitive to what you think. You may think, oh, I'm going to turn on my hazard lights so people can see me easier. Don't do that. Just put on your regular headlights, and that will make you much more visible than if you just have your hazard lights on. Some states even outlaw you from actually putting on your hazard lights in the heavy rain. We do not have ticketed offenses illegal. It's not illegal necessarily in Georgia, but honestly, just don't do it. It makes you way less safe if you put your hazard lights on. So I'm going to step off that soapbox for the moment being, but just wanted to make sure that's clear. Whenever you're driving through heavy rain, do not put on your hazard lights. It makes it much more difficult for cars around you to gauge how far away you are or if you're putting on your brakes. I know you're trying to be a good citizen, make yourself look more visible, but you're actually doing the opposite. Let's widen out this view. Oh, really? Okay. Okay. So this is a look back at our Thurman Dam cam. It looks like the wind is a little bit less from what we did have just a moment ago, but we were just looking at this and there is some ponding there on 221 along the dam. So that's another thing. If you're going to be driving in these really intense storms, we can see ponding on roadways, which makes it very easy to hydroplane and lose control of your vehicle. So make sure that you are being extra safe in that sense. Make sure you're slowing down your speed. Hydroplaning becomes much more likely whenever you get speeds over 55 miles an hour. So the faster you go on wet roadways, the more likely you are to hydroplane. Try to slow down your speeds, adjust to conditions, keep your headlights on in the rain, but don't turn on your hazard lights. Let's see if we can kind of pan around that camera a little bit, Gary. You can leave it pulled up. Thanks, sir. All right, we'll see if, or actually this car is about to drive by. We can see kind of if there is, now it shifts around. Definitely some heavy rain up there. Well, I'm trying to get this to tilt back up to the flags to see if we can see kind of what the wind threat. Definitely still some steady wind, not quite as intense as what it was just about 10 minutes ago or so, but this is where that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for areas around Clarksville Lake, from northern Columbia County through southern Lincoln County, all the way over to McCormick County, and even portions of Edgefield County. And you can just see that torrential rainfall right there. But now we can at least see a little bit of the visitor center over there, but still blinding rain nonetheless. And you can just see kind of piling on that kind of tower that our camera sits on there on the Thurman Dam. All right, I'm going to bounce around cameras a little bit. There's a look outside of our studios. This is a look at our studio camera. So I'm going to pan it here. So this is where we have that severe thunderstorm warning in Columbia County. So this is kind of looking on the southern end of it. We're just kind of right in the mix of it there from our Thurman Dam cam. So this is back down towards Riverwatch and I-20 near the state line, and kind of looking north into that storm. And it does have a pretty decent looking shelf around it. We'll kind of continue on and looking over towards the river and into Aiken County, and not necessarily anything super impressive to look at right there, but this is from our Beach Island tower cam. And this is a spot that's just kind of had storms kind of peppered all around it today. We got some light rain falling in Beach Island at the moment. I'm just kind of panning around, seeing what I can see or so. Sorry to make you a little motion sickness, but just want to scan, make sure we're not seeing anything new. We'll go back up to our Thurman Dam cam right here. Kind of pan back over, looking at the dam, 221. And we'll watch this car pass by and see how much ponding is actually out on the roadway right there. Oh yeah, look at that truck. I see what you're talking about now, Gary. Look at that. So look at that truck just kind of plowing through. That is a lot of ponding right there on the dam, and it's just throwing water over the side barrier. So yeah, ponding on roadway, definitely a big issue with these storms as well. We've been talking about how intense these rain rates will be today, the flash flood risk as well. So we're going to see rain rates over an inch per hour, potentially as high as 2 to 3 inches per hour. And that's where we're going to see this ponding on roadway and even lead to some flooding issues, especially in flood-prone areas, thinking low-lying areas, poor drainage areas. That's where the concern is going to be highest. Looks like we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning issued for portions of Edgefield and also for portions of Saluda County. So we'll kind of switch back over to radar, get an update for you there. So here's a look at our 3 different warnings we have at the moment. We have this one that's up towards the lake. We have this one in Aiken and Edgefield County. And then we have this new one for Edgefield and Saluda County. So we're going to zoom in on this latest one that was just issued for areas north of Edgefield into Saluda. And let's see what this is looking like right now. So that does include Edgefield, Newberry, Saluda County until 4 p.m. Time check right now, 3:15. Nickel size hail, 60 mile per hour wind. It is moving east at 15 miles an hour. This is the exact area we're looking at to where all those outflow boundaries were going to start colliding with one another. So not surprising that we did see this go severe. And actually, I'm going to allow this to loop over the last hour, and you can see what those outflow boundaries did. I mean, just textbook stuff right there. Take a look at this. So you can see those just kind of arcing light blue circles right there. And then it just blew all this up as it kind of met that severe thunderstorm warning that was moving out of McCormick County. So this is kind of the domino effect we were talking about. Is now that the storms start to get going, they're pushing out the rain-cooled air. They're helping set off new thunderstorms, and as they collide, they can lead to these storms just firing up super quick and turning severe without necessarily a whole lot of warning. So Latest severe thunderstorm warning does include downtown Saluda, also includes places like Batesburg, Leesville, Johnston, Ridge Spring, Saluda County Airport, Minetta, Ward, the Saluda County Sheriff's Office, Good Hope, Northside Fire Station, Hollywood Elementary School, Emory, Scurry Airport, Hickory Grove, Hibernia, and Saluda High School. Starting to see the potential for some trees reported down in Hephzibah off of Willis Foreman Road. So Gary, if we could relay that to our newsroom to check in to see if Willis Foreman Road in Hephzibah. All right, thanks, sir. So one thing also that we were talking about how this new, the other severe thunderstorm warning in effect for northern Aiken County into eastern Edgefield County. That was a spot that was severe warned earlier this afternoon. They're underneath a new severe thunderstorm warning again. So that would most likely be the next place we see the potential for a flood advisory issued, since they just kind of had multiple rounds of this intense thunderstorm activity. We could see a flood advisory issued for that area. But we were talking about the potential that some trees did come down near Hephzibah off Willis Foreman Road. And I'm going to see if we can try to find that here. See where some of these stronger. Potential is there for maybe a downburst that happened. That would be my best guess for what did occur with that cell, is that we may have had a downburst if we did see a number of trees down there in Hephzibah. They did have a special weather statement on that cell earlier for 55 mile per hour winds, which is enough to bring down some trees. So that may have been what occurred, but we're going to try to get some more information on what type of damage reports are coming out of southern Richmond County. But there is still that flood advisory in effect for areas around Highway 1 all the way over to Mike Paget Highway into Augusta. That flood advisory does stay in effect until 5:30. And the thing is, even though it's not necessarily a ton of rain in that area at the moment, we have these storms kind of west of us that are trying to move that direction. So that's why most likely the flood advisory kind of continues through that time frame. Wider look again. We have decent storms kind of popping up now over places like Hancock, Washington County, Glasscock County, Warren County. None of these are severe at the moment. They appear to be struggling to hold together quite as well as what we've seen for a lot of our spots here closer to the Savannah River. But if you're hearing thunder really anywhere across the area, even if you're not necessarily underneath a severe thunderstorm warning, hey, make sure you're getting inside. As we've seen with the number of these storms, they can turn severe really, really quick. So just make sure you are staying safe out there for the rest of today. Yeah. And so, folks, if you're on social media or if you've seen pictures circulating around, there's a lot of talk that maybe a tornado happened in Hephzibah. I would say our atmosphere was not necessarily super conducive for a tornado to form. I would say what most likely happened is a downburst occurred. And a downburst damage can look just like tornado damage. It can knock down trees, and you can get winds up to 100 miles an hour in a downburst. So it can look just like how tornado damage does look sometimes, and they can sometimes be mistaken for a tornado. One thing we can look at, I'm going to pull up our velocity, and we're going to take this back a couple of hours to see if there was any type of rotation or if we saw some type of downburst signature. So this is going back to about 123. This is looking at velocity, so basically wind going towards and away from the radar. We're going to play this out in time. I would say, right, let's see if we can find Willis Foreman. It's kind of around the landfill right there. Willis Foreman Road right here. All right, so right there's Willis Foreman Road. Let's play this out and we can see if we see anything. I'm going to take the warning box off underneath it so we have a little bit better idea. All right. So now this is just looking strictly at velocity and the map. I see strong winds on velocity. I don't see a couplet that would show a tornado, but I would say this looks more kind of like a downburst signature, if anything, especially like right here. So that would be kind of just kind of the downburst signature right there. But we'll see if we can get some more reports coming through, what exactly it looks like. There is a relatively kind of easy way to tell if it was tornado damage or downburst wind damage. If basically everything is kind of laid out in a fan, or if it's laid out in the same direction, that's usually a sign of downburst winds. If everything's kind of laying in all different directions, that's a sign that there was some type of rotation going on. So I don't want to speculate. I haven't seen necessarily a ton of pictures of what's happened there in Hephzibah, but it does look like some trees have come down, and we're definitely working to see if we can find out some more information about that. We also did have a number of people in there in South Augusta that are without power at the moment. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Right now, our active severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect for areas around the lake, Columbia County, Edgefield County, Lincoln, McCormick, and also over here in Aiken, Edgefield, and Saluda County. Downtown Saluda, you are seeing some really intense thunderstorm activity at the moment. Same thing in downtown Edgefield, and anywhere on I-20 between mile marker 14 and 30 there in I-20. It doesn't look like necessarily that storm held together all too well to where that severe thunderstorm warning was issued initially. You can see it looked like it had the potential to turn severe, but this one is trying to move that direction, so it's probably a good idea they just kind of have this up in anticipation of this threat kind of moving east at about 15-20 miles. I'm interested about this Hephzibah, and what I'm just now realizing is that we have our Harlem radar. And as long as there wasn't a... Okay. For some reason, our radar network did not want to cooperate. Okay. One other thing I'm noticing here on the radar, just kind of the wide view. Notice the skinny blue line. I'm sure y'all all know. I've been talking about them for a couple hours now. The outflow boundaries. So this outflow boundary right here is moving right towards this juiced up line. So that's not good, folks. That will most likely lead to the potential for more severe weather and most likely the continued chance for some flash flooding. So we have these storms moving east. We have this outflow from storms south of us moving this way. So what this is going to end up doing is most likely creating the chance for some continued heavy rain chances, the potential for some stronger thunderstorms. Now, some parts of this area I just circled, they've been mixed over with some stronger thunderstorms so far today. So maybe it's a little bit tougher for the atmosphere to kind of continue to build those stronger thunderstorms. But I would imagine just kind of the collision course that these boundaries are on will most likely see pretty decent coverage of thunderstorms in that circled area. But since we have seen some thunderstorms already, that can kind of help churn up our atmosphere and prevent continued storm chances. But I would imagine just kind of those boundaries on a collision course with each other will likely see more storms develop in that area from Burke County to Richmond County, Aiken County, and up in Edgefield County too. We did, yep. All right, we just got a new, yep. All right, so we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning. It does include McDuffie, Columbia, Richmond, Edgefield, Aiken County. And we were just talking about how these boundaries were on a collision course with each other. So that's likely why we're seeing this severe thunderstorm warning issued right here. So even though this line may not look as impressive at the moment, we'll likely see it get juiced up a good bit as this outflow from these storms south of us just kind of merge with this continued line. So if you were watching just a couple minutes ago, we were putting all these arrows on here. So we have this outflow moving here. We got this boundary moving this way. This is going to allow for some pretty decent thunderstorms in this direction. So this is why we have just seen this new severe thunderstorm warning issued. This does include places like Augusta, North Augusta, Martinez, Grovetown, Evans, Thompson, Fort Gordon, Belvedere, Edgefield, Harlem, Johnston, Ridge Spring, the Augusta Mall, Augusta National Golf Club. This is most of our metro area included in this new severe thunderstorm warning. So anywhere around Augusta, Martinez, Evans, Grovetown, Thompson, make sure you are staying in your safe spot, getting ready for the potential of some really strong wind. One thing we can also do is we'll pull up our tower cams here in a second, and we'll kind of see a live view outside of what this is looking at. But this severe thunderstorm warning will stay in effect until 4:15. 60 mile per hour wind gusts, nickel-sized hail. It's moving southeast at just about 10 miles an hour. Make sure you are staying in that low level of your house in an interior room, staying away from windows, and just kind of hunkering down inside, letting the storm pass you by. Because as we saw from our lake camera earlier today, these storms are definitely packing a punch. They're producing some really strong wind, a lot of cloudy ground lightning, intense rainfall. just a number of hazards with them, and want to make sure everyone is staying safe. And I think we potentially did get in some pictures of some damage in Hephzibah that we're going to try to pull up here in a little bit. We got to make sure we're licensed to show them on air so we don't get any trouble. So we're working on that. And the thing is, if you're watching us and it's safe to do so, if storms already passed by your location, and you have any damage or anything like that around your home, it's very easy to submit pictures through our website, through our weather app as well. You can do that. We have meteorologist Emily Acton just stepped into the streaming studio. Oh, wow. Yeah. So that is for 70. Let's see. So Emily was just letting me know that they did upgrade one of the warnings in Saluda County to a considerable threat. We just had this new, you see this new one just issued for the Augusta Metro? Yeah. So let's go up here to this one up in Saluda County. Let's see. Considerable, there you go. Okay, so this is for, so this severe thunderstorm warning that does include downtown Saluda. This is for gusts up to 70 miles an hour. So that is definitely enough to knock down some trees out there. So if anywhere in Saluda County, you can see that outflow boundary really just juiced up this storm, and 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible for that storm in Saluda County. So make sure you are being safe, staying in that lowest part of your home, staying in an interior room, away from windows. We do not see considerable severe thunderstorm warnings issued all too often here locally. They only issue that when they're expecting winds in excess of 60, and this one is for winds up to 70 miles per hour. So and we're actually showing you some pictures. This is from Hephzibah, Gary. All right, so we just had this viewer photo sent in by Skylar. This is from Hephzibah, and you can see children's playground knocked down, and look at that kiddie pool that is up in the trees right there. So this is where we did get reports of some tree damage, and thank you, Skylar, for sending this in. This is another look at some tree damage there in Hephzibah. This is generally off the Willis Foreman Road area, where we did have a special weather statement issued earlier for 50 to 55 miles per hour winds, and winds like that can definitely knock down trees like what you're seeing right there. Some more tree damage, and you can see that one actually looks like it's kind of snapped halfway up, so that is a sign of some strong wind. I would not be surprised if this was a microburst or a downburst, depending on kind of the scale. So a microburst is just a smaller version of a downburst. So we'll see kind of how expansive this damage is, but look at that tree down right there, and we are seeing just more damage. Yeah. All right, we're going to try to zoom in on this picture, see if we can get a little bit better view of that. So that tree appears maybe it was a little bit dead, made it a little bit easier to kind of shred apart, but nonetheless, that's a big tree that just got kind of snapped in half there from some really strong wind over Hephzibah. And you can see the kiddie pool just kind of lifted up into the trees right there. This is from that picture from Skylar we were talking about. And a sign of just the really intense wind that we've seen with a lot of these storms so far today. And remember, our most intense severe thunderstorm that we're tracking right now is in Saluda County. They actually have a considerable tag on this. So the reason is they're expecting winds to be up to 70 miles per hour. So there's that considerable threat. It does include downtown Saluda all the way down towards Ward. So pretty much all of Saluda County, especially if you live kind of northern Saluda County, kind of along the shores of Lake Murray, make sure you are staying in that safe spot right now, because 70-mile-per-hour winds is definitely enough to cause the tree damage we were just looking at from Hephzibah earlier, but likely much more damage than what we've seen in many of these storms so far today. So treat this with some urgency. This is a considerable severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Saluda and all the way down to Ward, and right there at the Edgefield County line. So just north of Johnston in downtown Edgefield is where that does include. And we have the other severe thunderstorm warning that does include a lot of the Augusta metro. And let's see if we can actually look at some of our tower cams here. We'll go back out to this one. So this is a look from the Thurman Dam, definitely showing some big improvement from the heavier rain that we had and the intense wind we also had out there earlier when we were looking at a severe thunderstorm warning from that camera. I'm gonna go back out to our studios and pan this over to where that line of severe storms is trying to move in. Here's a look at it. Really just looks like gray skies. I don't necessarily see an impressive shelf cloud or anything like that. So we're going to kind of bounce around to some different cameras. This is a look at the medical district from our downtown Augusta cam that's looking up towards Walton Way and the hill. We'll get a wide view from our Beach Island tower cam. And yeah, tough to see, not necessarily definitive cloud features to kind of see on our tower cams at the moment, but we'll continue to keep a close eye on them. Going back to the Georgia Power outage map, we'll see if there's any more outages to mention. Still have about 590 customers without power in Lincolnton. Near Appling, we have about 117 customers without power. And then in Augusta, we have about 226 people without power. Let's jump over to Dominion. And we'll kind of check on our Carolina counties, see what that looks like. Okay. Our operations manager is talking to my ear, giving me some updates that we haven't heard of any high school games getting canceled for tonight just yet. And we also haven't heard if Nitro Circus is going to be canceled tonight. So Nitro Circus is supposed to form at SRP Park tonight. We're hoping they're able to get that in. And the thing is that we usually have our camera there at SRP Park. And I'm wondering if Nitro Circus took down the camera so we couldn't look at it, because it was working earlier, but then it went out as soon as we started to notice they were putting stuff up. So I'm not sure if we still have access. It looks like it's taking forever to load, so it's probably offline at the moment. They didn't want us to get a free show out there at SRP Park, but man, now that the rain is lightened up, you can really see on the dam right there just how much ponding is there on 221. And we were watching cars kind of plow through this, and all that standing water, that's what's going to lead to hydroplaning. You can lose control very easily. So this is also another concern, along with the severe wind threat we've been talking about, the cloud ground lightning, the hail. We're also just going to see really heavy rain that can lead to ponding on roads, which can make for very treacherous travel conditions too. All right, let's go back out to the radar network. So this is the latest on those. And the latest scans I'm seeing show some improvement for that line that was severe warned, kind of trying to make its way towards I-20. I'm hoping that continues, but as we were mentioning, we do have just kind of a collision course that's about to happen. You can see those little blue semicircles right there. So these little skinny blue lines, that is rain-cooled air that can act like an extra boost and extra lift for these storms. So as this continues to meet this line of thunderstorm activity, that's when we're anticipating the threat for some stronger wind to start to mix down, maybe some large hail, cloud ground lightning, some intense rainfall. So we'll continue to watch that. The latest couple of scans that have come through, though, does show that it's not quite as intense as what it's been, and we can just hope and pray that that trend does continue. We do have a new special weather statement for areas around Sandersville and central Washington County. So that is for gusts up to 40 to 50 miles an hour, pea-sized hail, and definitely a lot of cloudy ground lightning too. That will be in effect for the next 20 minutes. That does include places like Sandersville and also up to Worthen in the northern edge of the county there. But I want to also go back to the considerable severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Saluda County. That does include downtown Saluda. And I'm going to try to pull up velocity. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Look at that wind signature right there. So that is now moving towards Lake Murray. And I'm going to have to turn some things off so we can try to query this real quick. All right, so let's see how strong this wind is. So this is looking at relative velocity. That's showing at least 60 mile per hour wind right there. Remember, this warning is for up to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, and I think that likely has verified. This part of Saluda County, not too far away from the Columbia radar site, so we're getting pretty decent low-level scans of this storm, and that is a very impressive wind signature, and I'm not surprised at all that the Weather Service did issue that considerable tag with this severe thunderstorm. I'll back it up, and you can just kind of see the progress of it. So at about 3:27, just about 14 minutes ago, we had some pretty strong winds over Saluda, 50, 60 miles per hour, and then we'll kind of play this forward in time for you, and you can kind of see how it really just kind of strengthened up. So we continue this direction, and that is just a textbook straight line wind threat right there. Let's see how strong these winds are. That's up to 56. We did get a 60 in there earlier. So 50 to 70 miles an hour, 100%. That is a very powerful thunderstorm that is now moving towards the shores of Lake Murray. So it's kind of moving along 378. So now moving east of Saluda with the strongest of that wind, and it will continue moving towards Lake Murray into areas just north out of the CSRA. But very impressive wind signature right there. We've been kind of scanning around the radar a good bit. Just want to let you know that we are still underneath this first alert. The reason is we have a level 2 severe risk, level 2 flash flood risk. We've been looking at scattered strong to severe thunderstorm warnings over the last several hours. We've had a flood advisory issued in a couple spots, and just want to make sure everyone is continuing to stay weather aware out there. We are definitely not free of saying that the severe weather threat is done by any means. We likely will still have the continued chance over the next couple of hours. And just kind of looking at our just kind of the wide view of what's happening on radar, we still have our severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect until 9 p.m. We can keep our fingers crossed that maybe that gets canceled a little bit sooner than 9 p.m., but just cannot rule out that there is that continued chance for some stronger thunderstorms at least through sunset, maybe even a little bit longer than that. So this line of thunderstorms, yeah, go ahead, Garrett. Okay. So we just got an update from Richmond County School System. They said that they are monitoring the weather, and there may be some school buses that are delayed today. So just want to let any parents know that if your child's bus is not showing up on time, there is the potential that it's delayed because of the weather out there and all the storms that we are tracking. Stop, find your bus. Okay, so, and parents from the Richmond County School System, they say parents are encouraged to track where their children's bus is in real time using this Stop Finder bus app. Yeah. So the Stop Finder bus app is a tool that parents should be using in Richmond County to kind of keep an eye on their children's bus in real time. We did just get another severe thunderstorm warning issued for Fairfield, Newberry, Lexington, and eastern Saluda County, and they are continuing that considerable tag that we were just mentioning for Saluda County. So they're continuing that considerable threat, and we'll kind of highlight that for you. So that is for eastern Saluda County into portions of Lexington County, Newberry County, and Richland County. And that is, and you can see just that considerable threat indicated right there. And as we were just looking at wind velocity, I mean, the core of that storm was rocking and rolling, and would not be surprised if we do have winds 60 to 70 miles per hour. So that is heading across the waters of Lake Murray towards downtown Columbia. So it is moving east at 30 miles an hour, and that's actually the fastest moving storm we've seen all afternoon. So that storm is definitely moving a little bit quicker than the other storms that we've had so far today, but considerable threat with that. So anywhere in eastern Saluda County into the Midlands of South Carolina, very powerful thunderstorm producing 70 mile per hour wind gusts, moving right along 378 towards downtown Columbia. And they did allow that one severe thunderstorm warning just north of downtown Aiken to expire. Now we're just kind of keeping an eye on these storms. Right here for portions of Richmond, Aiken, McCormick, Columbia, McDuffie County. The latest couple of scans show some improvement, but I don't want you to let your guard down. We are underneath the severe thunderstorm warning at least for the next 30 minutes. And the reason is that we'll likely see these storms get a little bit of a boost from this outflow that is kind of moving this direction. So as this outflow continues pushing towards I-20, it's going to help just kind of lift up these storms and likely will allow them to pulse up again and most likely turn severe. So the emergency manager in Saluda County was reporting that they had very heavy rain and very strong winds in Saluda just about 10 minutes ago. So there's kind of confirmation of that really strong wind that we had with that. And whenever we have these outflow boundaries kind of interacting with these linear convective systems, it can lead to some swirls. I usually see it happen along the coast whenever we have the sea breeze pushing in, meeting a thunderstorm. Sometimes they can just meet at a time to where it creates just enough spin where you can possibly see a brief tornado warning. There's not an expected tornadic threat with most of these storms the rest of today, but just with the way this line of storms is oriented with this incoming boundary, just want to make sure everyone is staying weather aware out there. And it looks like they actually just dropped a good chunk of this severe thunderstorm warning out of Edgefield County and Aiken County. So now they're really just focusing on McDuffie, Columbia, and Richmond County. So as we were just talking about, latest couple of scans didn't show it quite as strong. So we're kind of cheering for that continued trend. So they did trend back that severe thunderstorm warning a good bit. It doesn't stretch quite as far into the Carolina side of the CSRA, but we'll take a look at this latest update that just came in. So this is in effect until 4:15. This does include Columbia, McDuffie, and Richmond County. 60 mile per hour wind gusts, moving southeast at about 25. Expect damage to trees and power lines. This does include places like Grovetown, Evans, Thompson, Fort Gordon, Martinez, Harlem, Appling, Riverwood, Daniel Field, the Augusta Mall, the Village Plaza Shopping Center, Blythe, Deering, Liberty Park, Sweetwater Park, Glen Hills, the McDuffie County Fire Department, Adamsville, and Bath. This also includes I-20 between mile markers 176 and 197. So basically from the Thompson exit all the way down to the Wheeler Road exit here in Augusta. Kind of want to go back out to our, well, I would say we look back out our tower cams, but we don't necessarily have a ton of tower cams nearby where that the worst part of that storm is. I guess we could switch over to our Wheeler Road camera. I'll do that for a second. Okay, thank you, sir. We are getting close to 4 o'clock, so we are about to be going live on WRDW and WRDW Plus. So if you're watching us on the app or our website, it will be switching over to our newscast, but you can continue to watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and also TikTok. We are live on TikTok right now. If you want to join us there. Where is our Wheeler Road cam? There's just kind of outside of our studios, doesn't necessarily show a ton. Just kind of looking to where that severe warned storm is farther down I-20. I'm going to pan this over to the medical district. Can't necessarily see a ton there either. There's Beach Island. Let's see if I can find this. Pull up our Wheeler Road cam real quick. Come on, camera. Here we go. So that is I-20. That is westbound traffic towards Atlanta between the Wheeler and Bel Air exit. I'm going to move this camera a little bit to look west. You can just kind of see the dark skies in the background. Doesn't necessarily give us a great view of what's happening with that severe storm. So we'll just kind of cut back to this. And I do want to go back out to the severe warned cell in Saluda County. They did extend that into the Midlands for up to 70 mile per hour winds. So this is really transitioning into Lexington, Newberry County, out of eastern Saluda County is where the worst of this weather now is. We'll go back out to relative velocity and you can see still pretty power. Oh, wow. Holy smokes. Here, let's back this up. That looks impressive right there. So between Del Mar and Red Star, that potentially could have been a downburst that happened right there. I don't think that would necessarily be a sharp hook echo. I think that would be more conducive of a downburst signature, but there was a picture submitted from a storm reporter that looked like a very interesting cloud. Yeah, it was from the Weather Service chat. It was from the Midlands. But Still a very powerful thunderstorm. Sorry, I was talking to the guy in my ear right there, folks. But just kind of going back to radar. This is our newest kind of condensed severe thunderstorm warning, still in effect for places around McDuffie, Columbia, Richmond County. And then we have this severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Saluda County. And then the rest of the severe storms are kind of into the Midlands of South Carolina. We'll widen out this view for you. We are underneath the severe thunderstorm watch. Gonna switch over to this. So this is looking at visible satellite. You can just kind of see over the last 3 hours how quickly these storms kind of bubbled up as they just started to influence one another. They started pushing out outflow, bubbling up new storms, pulsing up, pushing down some really strong wind, a lot of cloud to ground lightning, heavy rain. Just a very active afternoon. Hey, and this is why we first alert. This is exactly why we wanted everyone to make sure that they were staying weather aware for the rest of today. Now, hopefully, since we have seen some pretty decent thunderstorm activity over the last several hours, hopefully that means we're looking better by high school football time coming up for kickoffs around 7:30. We've seen the radar. I'm going to jump to our in-house model. I'm not sure if I'm going to want to show it to you or not. We'll see how it's kind of initiated. And then, okay. Not looking too bad. That's kind of what it looks like right now. So it's initialized okay. We'll play this forward out in time for you. So there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. So I think there will be, and we kind of saw this on the radar, that there is some stuff kind of out towards Atlanta. We'll go to this view. So there's this wave of low pressure and what we call, so at the surface, there's a wave of low pressure traveling along this stalled front. We also have what's referred to as a short wave, which is in the mid to upper levels of our atmosphere, which is an area of favorable spin. So both of those are kind of ejecting out of Alabama into Georgia. That potentially could keep a second round of storms in play as we get later into this evening. So when we were looking at our in-house model there, you can see it was doing a pretty decent job kind of showing our line of storms at the moment. Actually, it's a little bit off, so what I'm going to do is actually adjust this a little bit, and then we'll kind of play it forward in time. So I would say we're kind of right. Say we're kind of right there. All right, so that's a good initialization spot. So I'm going to say okay, and then we'll kind of play this forward in time for you and show you what it's expecting. So as we continue, they're around 6. Some people are dry, some people are still wet, and I think that's going to be the thing moving forward this evening. There could be some games that are okay, other games maybe having to battle some rain, some lightning at times. It doesn't really look to be completely clear of any rain until we most likely get until after midnight. So evening plans could definitely get wet in some locations. We do have the severe thunderstorm watch until 9 p.m. And I just want to make sure that everyone is staying weather aware and making sure that you have that first alert weather app close by to keep an eye on the storms if you are planning to try to head out to some of those games. I'm not trying to discourage you from not going to those games. I know we all want to support our local schools. I want to see the boys play tonight, but just make sure you are doing so safely, and want to make sure all our athletes are safe as well. So latest couple of scans kind of coming through. Just seeing this update as well. We are still underneath this flood advisory for us, as well as the severe thunderstorm warning for us here around Augusta. So we've already seen 2-3 inches of rain inside that flood advisory. And now that this next wave of thunderstorm activity is moving in, we could see the potential for maybe some areas upgraded to a flash flood warning. So the continued chance for some flash flood concerns is definitely still there. And they just trimmed this severe thunderstorm warning even more. Right now, it looks like the worst of the weather right now over Harlem, Grovetown, into Fort Gordon. And Rennes, you are just outside of that warning there in northern Jefferson County, but I'm sure you're likely starting to notice some heavy rain, hearing some thunder popping around you. It's like just on the west side of Waynesboro, between Vidette and Waynesboro, you got a little cell popping up there. That may get juiced up a little bit as this outflow tries to hit it. No special weather statement or warning at the moment, but one will just kind of be watching. But pretty impressive to kind of just see this outflow. Definitely, usually can't see it that far away from the radar site, but I have the sensitivity turned way down so you can kind of see it pop a little bit more. But always good to kind of see where those are at, because those are kind of your trigger mechanisms for those storms to fire up, and definitely where we could see. Look at this storm. So outflow just hit this storm north of Williston. That's starting to grow. Just passed over Windsor. Windsor got hammered kind of twice in a row. Had one pop up and then one form right behind it. So those back building, outflow kind of popping it up. So that's heading towards Wagner Sally, up towards Eudora Farms. Hopefully all our animals are okay up there. Staying hunkered down. Just kind of making sure I'm staying up to date on any new warnings. Pretty impressive to see how far this line of activity actually does stretch. See, it goes all the way here. We'll do this all the way from basically north of Charlotte down to about Dothan, Alabama. So stretches about 400 miles, just this really narrow band of thunderstorm activity. Yeah, stretches more than 400 miles, and it's only about maybe 30 miles wide, if that. Most likely significantly less in some spots, but just impressive to see kind of the wide view of that. But this is what's helping drive it. We have this stalled front over the region. We got low pressure rotating through. We got our upper level pattern that's conducive for this. So we have a upper level trough that's kind of dipped down into the eastern U.S., and that's also what's going to help us finally cool down a little bit once we get towards the weekend. I don't want you to misinterpret the word cool. It's going to cool down. It's going to be cooler, but it's not going to be cool by any means. We are still going to be hot this weekend, just not quite as hot as what we have been. So we'll kind of trade the upper 90s for low 90s heading into the weekend. So, hey, we'll take what we can get middle of August for sure. All right, just going back to, we still have this one severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions of Columbia, McDuffie, Richmond County until 4:15. So we have just about 10 minutes, actually a little bit less than 10 minutes left on that. So we'll continue to watch it. I'm going to switch over to velocity, see if we see anything that really sticks out. Thing is, we're kind of in a radar gap right here since this is kind of far away from the Macon radar, kind of far away from the Charleston radar, and kind of far away from the Columbia radar. So that's when we switch over to our Harlem radar. The thing is, this Harlem radar looks like it's being kind of buggy. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's showing current information at the moment. And we were talking about this considerable tag on this severe thunderstorm warning moving out of Saluda County. Downtown Saluda, I would not be surprised if there's actually a lot of trees down. We can actually pop up, see if there's been any official severe wind reports kind of put in. So it looks like a couple. So we'll kind of query these. So we did have a severe thunderstorm warning over the lake earlier. We'll see what this one says. McCormick County Dispatch reports several trees down in the Savannah Lakes community. That happened at 2:25 p.m. So Savannah Lakes, if you live up in that area, nice lake community. McCormick County reporting a number of trees down in that area. And not surprising if you've been watching our kind of live coverage of this over the last couple of hours, that we had very strong wind at our Thurman Dam camera. We could actually see it live, that wind was rocking and rolling big time there. And that severe thunderstorm warning did go into McCormick County too. So McCormick, dispatch also reporting trees down along Highway 378 and Christian Road. And that looks to be kind of that storm that moved through Savannah Lakes and then to down 378 towards downtown McCormick, and had some more trees reported down there. So both of those storms were severe warned at the time. Let's see, Saluda, looks like we have this severe thunderstorm wind damage report. South Carolina Highway Patrol reports tree and roadway on Old Charleston Highway. That was in the city of Dyson in Saluda County, and that report came in at about 3:15. So it was able to travel from basically Savannah Lakes to McCormick to Dyson in western Saluda County within about 30-45 minutes. Looks like we got a report here in northern Aiken County. So at 4:15, this warning should be allowed to expire, and then I think we should be done with severe warnings, and then we can probably hop off after that. Okay, cool. Thank you, sir. So another severe wind report. This was at the Aiken Municipal Airport. Highway Patrol reports a tree down on I-20, or right near the Aiken Municipal Airport, I guess. Sorry about that. Highway Patrol did report a tree down on I-20. That happened at 2:23 p.m. So we were looking at that. That's also where some fairly large hail likely fell, right there on I-20 between basically the Aiken Airport exit all the way towards Foxtown, kind of near the Wire Road area. We likely did have some pretty large hail there. I'm actually going to see if maybe we got some pictures sent in from our weather app. All right. So just quick update, folks. We have our severe thunderstorm warning in effect still for portions of Columbia, Richmond, McDuffie County. This warning goes until 4:15. The way it's looking right now, I would say, I don't want to jinx it, but I would say they most likely will allow it to expire. But as we've been mentioning, it could pulse up again because we've been tracking this outflow kind of traveling this direction. And you can see that just kind of those skinny blue lines on the radar. So right there, those little blue lines kind of moving towards this storm, that can cause it to pulse up once again. So maybe they do extend the severe thunderstorm warning in portions of Jefferson, Burke, and Richmond County. Looks like it did just kind of get juiced up a little bit along Highway 1, right just north of Rennes and Keysville. So if we kind of see that continued activity, that would be kind of my next best guess for where maybe a special weather statement gets issued or possibly another severe thunderstorm warning. But we are live right now on WRDW. Whether you can watch that on WRDW Plus, you can watch it on your television set, on our Roku app, Fire Stick app. Those are going to be the best places to kind of continue to watch this storm coverage. If they do allow this to expire at 4:15, we're probably going to hop off of our live streams. If need be, we can hop back on these mechanisms and continue to keep you alert through that. But make sure you are following along our coverage on News 12. You can also do that on our website if you'd rather watch that way or on your TV set. Before we leave you, looks like we got some more wind damage reports right here in northern Columbia County near Finney. Check on those. Columbia County Dispatch reports a tree down in the roadway near the intersection of Ray Owens Road and Bennett Road. So that's where we did have a severe thunderstorm warning earlier. And then this one, Columbia County Dispatch reports a power line down near the intersection of Cobham Road and Crawford Place Road. That was about 2:55. So also in connection with that severe thunderstorm warning that we did have just about an hour or so ago. So we're getting close to the time right now, 4:14 at the moment. Looks like we just hit 4:15, and there you go. That severe thunderstorm warning just went away. So we are going to hop off of these live streams. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying updated. Continue to stay updated and weather aware for the rest of this afternoon into the evening. Hopefully these storms continue to settle down, but I cannot guarantee that. I think there will be the continued chance for some storms in some spots, and some of them could be on the strong to severe side. So continue to have that First Alert weather app close by. That's going to be the best tool to have to keep an eye on these storms over the next several hours. And you can watch for the latest weather updates